So tonight is Shabbat, taste of the world to come. And in that taste, we have to remember sometimes that learning about the difficulties that we face will carry us to a better time. So this beautiful exhibit, these beautiful faces, stories of every one of these children. I love, Christine, how you seem to know every one of them. Every one of them was personal for you. Appreciate that more than we could say. So it really is an honor tonight to have as our Torah Gail Wechsler, who is part of our Gun Violence Chavurah. We have a group at CRC that is fighting gun violence. We lose 8 children a day in this country to violence. And as we are being torn apart, seeing the images of children dying halfway around the world, and we have to do everything we can to stop violence towards children caught in the crossfire everywhere. We also have to remember that it's happening right here in our own city, on our own streets, in our own families. So Gail's going to introduce the founder, the instigator, the artist, the mom of our Faces Not Forgotten project.
Welcome, those who are here and those streaming. I'm Gail Wechsler, the co-chair of the Gun Violence. Okay. Yeah, thank you. I'm the co-chair of the Gun Violence Chavurah here at CRC, and Sarah Hyman, Stand Up, is my co-chair. We're trying to educate the CRC community about what gun violence really does to our community and to work on ways to reduce it. And so if you're interested, find Sarah and sign up, or if you're streaming, contact the office and they'll connect you. That number of 8 children killed every day in this country is horrific. If you look at all gun deaths in this country, it's over 110 a day and hundreds more wounded. So, and Missouri is a challenging place to be because our legislators don't get it or don't care. So it's up to all of us to do what we can to educate ourselves and become advocates. So that's my plug for the Chavurah. And now I'm going to introduce Christine Ilewski. Christine is an artist and an educator. At age 21, she lost her dad due to suicide by gun. In 2009, she dealt with the loss of a close friend and civil rights activist, Father Larry Rosebaugh. He was from St. Louis, and he died due to gun violence. As a result of Father Rosebaugh's death, Christine founded the Faces Not Forgotten project. And it's a social justice art project devoted to giving comfort for families who lost a child to gun violence. A hand-painted portrait of the child is presented to the family, and then quotes are prepared like the ones in our exhibit so that everyone can see these beautiful children and lift them up. And it raises awareness about the devastating loss in our own society from gun violence. And this year, Christine also became a Survivor Fellow with Everytown for Gun Safety. I'm also a proud volunteer with Moms Demand Action in Everytown and urge people to get involved in that organization as well. And Christine is active in the Illinois chapter of Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. So let's please welcome Christine Ilewski.
Thanks for having me tonight. You both told my story a bit already. So, yeah, 8 children a day. It's a number, and it's a horrible number, but it's hard to wrap your head around, and it's hard to feel it. And I think that we have gotten so immune to numbers and horrific events. You know, we can go back Columbine, Sandy Hook, Parkland. And I could just keep listing these horrific names of just in Sacramento last week or this past weekend, 3 children that I heard of that due to unsecured guns, found guns, playing with them, and 3 lives lost. But to me, I'm an artist, and I have had losses. And those stories hurt my heart when I heard them initially, but I didn't hold them in my heart until I had also had another event that was personal to me. So like Rabbi had said earlier, you know, when it becomes personal to each of us, then something shifts. And so in 2009, which seems like a long time ago now, I've been doing this for a while. In fact, I was up here once before when we had just begun. I lost a very good friend, a man that I couldn't imagine you could knock down. He was a civil rights activist. He's in Wikipedia. He marched on Selma. He worked. He's done a lot of actions. And 2 days after his 75th birthday, I woke up to a phone call that he had been gunned down. Not even resolved today. He'd been speaking out. It happened in Guatemala, actually, not in this country. But it shook my world, and it reopened a really old, deep wound that I've only now started to talk about, like Gail said. So 40 years ago, when I was 20, and my sister was 16, and my brother was only 14, our dad impulsively made a decision because of a lot of misunderstanding and took his own life with a gun that he had access to, probably shouldn't have had access to from some mental health issues he'd been having, but there were no laws that prevented that. And my life was changed, and their lives were changed, and our children's lives were changed. Our children that never knew him, didn't know the funny side of him, that he would tell the first Polish joke before anybody else on himself. They never had that chance, and we didn't have that, and we didn't speak of it because it was suicide, and because of the shame, we didn't speak of it for years. We still, the 3 of us, don't go to the cemetery together. It's very private and very deep for each of us. And so when Larry was killed, I'd had enough, you know, that was kind of, I'd had enough. And I didn't even know that I'd had enough. I just had had enough. It just seemed that my own work wasn't really relevant. I was painting pretty portraits of my 3 beautiful daughters and pretty things. I still paint pretty things. But I felt it, I wasn't giving back. I wasn't living my mission. And I had had these long conversations with Larry over many coffees. How do you know what your mission is? What is your mission in life? What are we here for? And he was like, you'll know. He was real quiet about it. You'll know. And I was like, how did you know you were going to just do that? How did you know you were going to go shed your blood on a nuclear site? How did you decide to do? Well, you'll know, you know. So I woke up and I knew, and I started Googling children and gun violence. And if you know the story, I found a young man, a portrait, beautiful. He was in his prom tuxedo, William, and he was on a website that his father had made for him, a memorial website to this 16-year-old beautiful boy who had started a new job, been working a couple days, and it was robbed, and he was killed at gunpoint, shot. That beautiful life. And I contacted his dad, who's a friend still today, and I said, could I do a portrait of William for you would it give you any comfort? I'm an artist. That's all I know how to do. And he said, yeah. And I thought about portraits, because portraits are reserved for kings and queens and dignitaries and important people. So I did this portrait, and then Bill helped me make a release form. And I said, do you think other families would like a portrait? Would that be something I could do? And that's where it started. And when I came to you years ago, we were in St. Louis working with the Crime Victims Advocacy Center. We still work with them. They give our information to the families, because I feel very strongly about the privacy of a family's loss of their child. That they need to come to us for the portrait, that we don't go hammering down doors or in any way pursuing them. So our information goes out through now the Moms Demand Action, which didn't even exist when I started. And it goes through the Survivor Network. And it has gone to many states. We're in 19 states. We have done over 300 portraits with about 200 artists. We're always doing portraits. We kind of took a few steps backwards through COVID a bit because of losing some funding, losing some help. But we are still here, and we keep going. And every time I saw a photo came in today, Skyla, who was here earlier, and the beautiful baby of Kalia and her son Aaron, and they are personal to me because I hold their memory in my head. And I hope that when you view them, when you look into their eyes and you spend a little time with them, you're going to think and remember Jerome. Oh, that mischievous smile. You're going to remember that child. I remember some of them very personally and deeply, like Chelsea, because I studied that photo and I talked to it. And I said, Chelsea, help me do this for your mom. And some photos are hard, and some photos we're trying to get a sense of who that child is. But it's very important. The first mission is to give comfort to the family, and that's what we do. And then we take that image of the child and an image of a handkerchief, which to me, I've always worked on fibers, and I believe we leave a piece of ourselves in the fibers that we touch. And so a handkerchief is symbolic of a mother's grief. It's something we hold and we touch. And we merge those two images, we have them printed, and then I hand paint on each one so that I can know that child again. And I tie them together, and I'm not sewing, I'm not a great sewer, but I tie them with ribbons, with the black ribbons. And then they go out on exhibit, and we just try to keep exhibiting and exhibiting and exhibiting them. And we've been around the country. We were in Indianapolis, we were at Rutgers, we're here tonight. I love the sacred space that they're in now. I take them a lot to universities because I want to engage that generation that this is happening to. I want them to understand, and I want them to get involved. And then I usually brings in the Moms Demand Action with me for that area, and we do a Lock It for Love event, or we do a program with the moms. And now, as I'm getting a little older and a little more tired, I'm trying to collaborate with other groups that are similar. So RISBA Network is a wonderful, Shaquitha Williams, a social worker and a mom and an aunt who has lost children. They're doing portraits, and together we've done Washington, D.C. quilts, and we've done Maryland, and we just, keep going. We do believe maybe that 100th monkey theory, maybe something, what is it that will click that just raises it up enough that enough people say, enough, and we shift it. And we are making progress, as Gail says. There are volunteers, tireless moms volunteers that are going and lobbying and doing the kind of work that I'm not so good at. And they are helping enact new laws. And like I said earlier, I'm a new Everytown speaker, and I have been instructed that I can ask you to text the word honor to 6433 if you're not involved in this movement. It's 64433. Yeah, I'm new at this. But that's because of the survivor group, so that they would know that you had heard me speak. If you wanted, then someone would reach out to you from the Moms to Ban and the Everytown Network for that. On our own behalf, I'm always looking for volunteers, and funding is tight and tough. And I have ideas of trying to give some of these quilts now as permanent memorials to churches where the families are. I would love to have someone that knows about major gifts or things that they could help us with that. You can speak to me afterwards. It's a deep, I'm an artist, but not much of a marketer, I suppose. So that's what began it. I think it'll always be my mission. I need help, and I'm learning to ask for that a little better because I am tired, and I can see the toll it takes on the families too. I think we've lost some of our parents because, you know, having lost a child, their health deteriorates, and this wears them down. And I'm sad. I'm sad to see that and know. So I hope that maybe by carrying this burden with them a little, making, even for them to know that this other person, this artist, engaged and came to love their child, this total stranger is carrying their child in their heart also. That's a big help to families, I hear. They say this to me. And I hear over and over, the most important thing, they don't want their child to be forgotten. This life that was short here on earth, these angels. And they are angels. They're very active. They're with us. I believe they're with us. They kind of show up in some of my other work sometimes. So thank you very much for listening to me tonight. And thank you for hosting us. And we hope that you will engage with them and carry them in your hearts. Carry them in your hearts. Learn their names. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The exhibit will be up until April 30th, so if you're Zooming, tell everybody to come on in. I think you can just come, right, to CRC now. Just wear a mask and come on in. And they're right in the Oneg as you come in. And it's really inspiring. And we had it here when you first, years ago. And we're thrilled to have you back.